And our
Thank you.
next presentation is Sportal, your sports portal to ensure that you never miss a score. Sportal eliminates the need to turn on your TV to check your phone by providing convenient sports-related
Thank you.
updates for your favorite team. Sportal makes sure that you never miss an important team update such as trades, draft picks, free agents, and scores. You'll have the news from your team instantly. Be the fan you want to be with Sportal as your personal sports portal. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Pace and Sportal.
Ladies, gentlemen, and sports fans alike, we'd like to direct your attention to the front of the Zoom meeting. We're going to start off with our CIS majors, including our founder, Christian Latham, myself, Joshua Geibler. Fernando Lopez is also a CIS major. Our two IT majors, including Blaine Pace and Joseph Dixon. And to wrap it up, we're going to be ending with our computer science division, led by Chris McHugh. To kick us off, Christian Latham.
Hello, guys. So Sportal is your sports portal to ensure you never miss a score, but what exactly does that mean? So Sportal is going to give fans constant score updates, up-to-date headlines for whatever team they decide to support. So whether that's the Mavericks, the Rockets, whoever you want, even the Cowboys or something like that, all with hands-free convenience. So you never need to use your phone, never need to use your laptop. All the scores are right there on your Sportal. It's a desk accessory size device, so it's not very big, and it's connected to the internet all the time, so it's constantly updating. Right now, there is no real competition. The only other score trackers there are things through your app, so you'd have to use your phone. And so this would give you something that you can sit on your desk and show off to all the other people at work that you support their team, and then they can come over and check out what the score is. So we believe that right now, since there is no competition, that there is a market and demand for fans to have something that they can keep track of the score without ever having to lift a finger. The design right now for our prototype is a display with a touchscreen. Currently, we have where it's team specific. So like I said, if you want to have a Mavs one, you can have a Mavs one. If you want a Rockets one, you get a Rockets one. You can personalize the color scheme, so the display actually can change colors to however you want. And we plan on having interchangeable housings. So the actual housing that holds the display and the Raspberry Pi, you can swap those out. It's pretty easy. And so you can have different ones, like I said, for different teams. And all this is done and facilitated through account creation. You can customize your preferences and all that within the account. On to the next part. By launch, thanks to Chris, our current framework is extremely flexible. So we can add all kinds of stuff to the Sportal right now. By launch, though, we plan to have team customization. So you can go into your Sportal and you're a Mavs fan, but you want to check out the Spurs score, so you can go ahead and swap over to the Spurs. Eventually, we'll want to have logo and team branding. That way, on the actual Sportal, you can see that it is a Mavs, official Mavs sponsored device. And then we want to open up to more team and player information, so where you have all the stats, trades, draft picks, all the good stuff. At some point, we plan on adding audio features. That way, if you wanted to tune in to the broadcast of the actual game, or you can just have audible notifications for something like a score or a trade, a little ding or something like that. With the ultimate goal is to increase our scalability to where we can expand into other leagues and other sports. Right now, to look at the market, go on to the next slide. We plan on going with the MLB, NBA, and NFL right now, purely because those are the three biggest sporting leagues in the United States. And just looking at this chart, you can see that their revenue in the last 10 years is constantly growing. So even with fan attendance kind of in fluctuation, all three of these leagues are able to continue to increase their revenue. And all this does is show that sports fans are willing to spend money on more than just attending the game. They want to support their team and they want to show off their support. With that all being said, I'm going to pass this along to Fernando, and he's going to talk about who our customers are, how we're getting that stuff out there, and how we're going to produce Sportal.
Thank you, Christian. I'm now going to talk about who we are selling this to. As Christian may have mentioned, we are focusing primarily on the leagues such as the NFL, NBA, and MLB. Because of this, we are focusing on selling the Sportal in the market present in the US. Now, this isn't to say that we aren't considering the possibility of selling Sportals that cover sports from another country in the future. We just want to focus on the current market present in the US. Now, as to what sports fans we are selling to, we're looking to target sports fans between the ages of 18 to 45. The reason being is that we want to capture the sports fans who are just now trying to enter the sporting community and want to show off their team spirit through a Sportal. We're also looking to target the older sports fans who have been with their team for years now and who are looking for a new piece to add to their collection. We're targeting sports fans who are in the working class simply because we are planning to sell our Sportal at the retail price of $75. So we're looking to try and appeal to customers who have a little bit of disposable income that they'd be willing to spend on our Sportal. Now, on to the next slide. I'm going to talk about how exactly are we going to get our Sportals to our customers. We plan on selling our Sportals through sporting good retail stores such as Academy Sporting and Outdoors or Dick's Sporting Goods, just to name a few. Also, if you look below, you can also see an image of our website that we have set up. We also plan on selling our Sportals through our website. I forgot to mention, along with offering our Sportal in stores, we're also going to offer demos in which our older target audience can go and interact with it in person, seeing as they might have a little bit of trouble with the technology. Now, as far as how we're marketing our Sportal, we're going to use social media sites such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, for example, just to let our customers know about our Sportal and where they can buy it. Now, moving on to my next slide, I'm going to talk about how we're going to manufacture our Sportal. Now, after doing a little bit of research beforehand for this project, we saw that based on the requirements that the leagues have placed on their sites, include things such as upfront payment of high-costing royalties that they expect every year in order for us to be able to use the team logos and team names in our product, as well as running in between 2 to 3 years, as well as having our own distribution channel. We're basically looking to partner with a manufacturer that already has a licensing agreement with these leagues. We are currently using websites such as thomasnet.com and mHub Chicago, which are basically hubs where suppliers and manufacturers interact and mingle with each other in order to find a potential manufacturer that'd be willing to partner with us that has a license with these leagues. Now, by partnering with an established manufacturer, we'd like to, by partnering with a manufacturer that already has a license and basically has an infrastructure already set in place, we're looking to alleviate the startup costs associated with our Sportal, which would basically fall on the royalties that we'd have to pay for each individual league, as well as the cost of renting out space and hiring employees. Having said this, we're also exploring the possibility of partnering with an established sports publisher that has an established customer base that might be able to help us along the way as well, also for the same reason, in order to allow us to alleviate the costs associated with our Sportal. The plan B, so to speak, is if we're unable to find a manufacturer that would like to partner with us. Basically, we're going to develop the idea of Sportal to such a point where we can pitch the selling idea to them. But again, this is the worst case scenario. Now I'm going to pass it on to Joshua Geibler, who's going to explain Sportal's cost structure and revenue stream.
Thanks, Fernando. Hey guys, I'm Joshua Geibler. I'm going to be going over the cost structure, revenue streams that are associated with our product. As to piggyback off of what Fernando was just saying, we do plan on partnering with a third-party manufacturer to alleviate a lot of those upfront costs and streamline the process and production of our product. But the numbers that you see here are going to be assuming that we are producing it ourselves, as if, say, out of a garage to start up and just kind of get started and get out into this market that is fresh for the picking. First off, The components of the Sportal are going to include 3 main components, including the Raspberry Pi 3B, a 3.5-inch display, and the housing. Starting off with the Raspberry Pi, it can be found online for wholesale at $34 a piece. To accompany and complement our Raspberry Pi, that 3.5-inch touchscreen display is going to allow our users to give us a platform to allow our customers to better interact with the device, whether that's through we mentioned trivia or even using banner ads and stuff like that down the line, so that they can interact and use the device more fluidly. The housing, as of right now, is 3D printed. We estimated the cost of this 3D printing, including electricity and filament, to be around $5. But we feel like this is one of the places that using that third-party manufacturer will help us out the most to not only have a cheaper molded housing, but instead also the customization and the flexibility of using a mold such as a football helmet or such to have a Dallas Cowboys Sportal, or you can have your favorite team no matter what it is. But with this total $60 variable cost in direct materials alone, we suggested a retail price of $75, offering us a margin of about 20% gross margin per unit. And that bleeds really well into the next point that I'm about to talk about, which is our revenue streams. So with the gross margin 20%, that's our biggest upfront revenue stream that we're going to be seeing right off the bat whenever we launch this product. But additionally, we've created a platform for us to build a continuous and sustainable revenue stream out of all of our products, past and new users, going into the first 3 or 4 years. First off is going to be our advertisements. So every user is going to be starting off as a free user, where we either display banner ads or we could use video ads during half times, timeouts, things like that during the game, whenever there might not be data to be updated. Instead, watch quick advertisement, go right back to getting your scores that you need. But we did toss around using, not toss around, we are going to offer subscriptions for pro users that not only eliminates the advertisements that free users are going to be dealing with, but a $4 a month or $40 a year felt like a really good place to put us in just a cheap novelty subscription so that you can get the best scores that you want, including additional services, including additional customization and settings that aren't available for non-pro users. And to project this subscriptions that we talk so much about, potential subscription streams that we're going to be seeing over the next 4 years are assuming that only like 25% of our users will be pro. And again, all of our numbers are based on producing out of the garage. So for us to break even, having to pay all those royalty fees and stuff that Fernando was talking about, we needed to sell at least 80,000 units. And if 25% of those users are pro, then by year 4, we can see over $3 million in revenue streams alone from subscriptions. That's not counting advertisements or the sale of our Sportal directly. But now that we've covered what is a Sportal, why you want a Sportal, how we're going to make it, and what we can see the results being, we're going to hand it over to Joseph Dixon, who's going to cover the back-end services of our Sportal.
Thank you, Josh. Again, my name is Joseph Dixon, and I'll go over the tech needs. I'll start out with the AWS website hosting. This allows us as a team to get a website up that offers a virtual machine, solid-state drives, solid-state-based storage, data transfer, DNS management, and a static IP address for our website. Next, I'll go over the AWS Cloud Database. This makes it easy to set up, operate, and scale a database in the cloud. It provides cost-efficient and resizable capacity while automating some time-consuming administration tasks. Similar to that is AWS Relational Database. It also automates tasks such as automatic failovers, point-in-time restore, disaster recovery, and performance optimization. This gives us more time to perfect the Sportal and gives us a faster result for our customers. The next is WordPress website design. This allows us to create a highly functional website. It is free and offers many great features when it comes to designing the actual website. With that, we have the PayPal plugin. The WordPress PayPal plugin allows us to easily create a buy donations and maybe a subscription type button on the website. It generates a dynamic button using short codes that enables PayPal checkout on our website. This will also allow users to check out with not only PayPal, but with their debit and credit card on our actual website. So next we have the storefront using Shopify. Shopify will be used to get us additional components so we can sell the product from our own made website. We would have to do a lot more legwork without this, so this kind of helps us to sell it from our website alone. Support, next is our support chatbot. This is an AI chatbot that can imitate a real conversation with a customer in their natural language. So it does have different options. If someone speaks Spanish or French, it has the option of changing that in the conversation. They can use this by using a text box or a message on the website, and allows for 24 hours Q&A. Next, we have the battery power components. Right now, we have to actually physically plug in the device, but in the future, we're hoping to be able to run it using 6 AA batteries. Like I said, right now, we do have to plug it in, but hopefully we can do a battery operated type of device in the future when we launch it. And then next, I have the Sportal Game Changer API. So in short, the API pretty much helps us communicate from our websites that we're scraping to our device. So it allows us to actually get the live data from ESPN or NBA.com, stuff like that, and sends the data to the actual Sportal on the desk or wherever you have it, and it displays the information for our users. This is important because we're pretty much selling them on this information being live and up to date. And next, I'll pass it on to Blaine, who will go more in detail on this type of things. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, Joseph. So as Joseph mentioned, we're going to be using several different services in the back end for our company. And so I will talk a little bit more about the details of why and how we will be using these. So to start, as Joseph mentioned, we'll be using multiple different Amazon Web Services database systems. Not only will we be able to store financial information, user information, and source code on the cloud database system, we'll also use a relational database system that will go alongside our Sportal Game Changer API to make sure that the most relevant information goes out to each of our users. As for the Game Changer API, that is our in-house developed API that at launch will have a specially designed algorithm that will analyze a user's preferences paired with their user identifier, their device identifier, and the various relational database identifiers that we utilize to narrow down which information from sources like ESPN or Bleacher Report are most relevant to each user, and send out personalized packages of data to each user. And as Fernando and Joseph both mentioned, we will be selling the product on our website through a Shopify storefront. Shopify not only provides a more secure and professionally designed website than we would be able to necessarily create ourselves, it also allows for us to have multiple transaction methods, including PayPal, as well as track the different information coming in from our online transactions compared to in-store sales. And also we'll be using the Bot Penguin chatbot plugin for WordPress, which is an AI-based support bot chatbot. This allows us to not only provide 24-hour support, as Joseph mentioned, to our current users, but we can also customize the conversations to guide prospective customers through the customer journey lifecycle from potential customer all the way through to satisfied user. And now I will also go on to talk about our catastrophic failure recovery plan, which we will implement in case of a cyber attack, a failure infrastructure, or just a failure in an update for our source code API. So initially we will have separate physical storage devices that have different iterations of our Game Changer API's source code. We'll have a master hard drive that stores every version that we've ever developed, starting from version 1 onwards, for the Game Changer API source code. Additionally, we will have 3 separate thumb drives that will have the most recent update on them. This allows for extra redundancy in case one of the files winds up corrupted. We'll also have a 4th thumb drive that stores 2 of the most recent database snapshots and financial statements in digital copy form. and these will all be stored in separate locations. We will have a safety deposit box at our bank housing one of the 3 source code thumb drives. We will have the executive boardroom storing another of the source code thumb drives. Our disaster-proof safe will actually contain alongside the 3rd source code thumb drive. And then we will have a portable disaster-proof case for company retreats and such that, very similar to the nuclear football, will house the master hard drive as well as our database snapshots and financial statements thumb drive. This will allow us to restore our company to the most recent stable state should we suffer a cyber attack or a complete collapse in our infrastructure. And we will verify each of the code backups that we put onto the 3 separate thumb drives and the master hard drive using special test Sportal devices that are not connected to the normal update procedure. So we will start with going through the 3 thumb drives to ensure that we can receive the most recent stable state. If all 3 of those thumb drives fail, we will iterate backwards through the rest of the software versions on the master hard drive until we reach a point where we can send out a stable update to our users. And if we have to restore our database and our financial statements from the 4th thumb drive and continue on with our company should a catastrophic failure occur. This provides us with multiple contingencies and redundancies to ensure that we can provide the best service possible to our customers. And now I'll pass it on to Chris Mahue to talk about the actual nuts and bolts of Sportal.
Thank you, Blaine. So, as previously mentioned, Sportal has the potential to be updated with several future additions and features, such as swappable case, and team data for draft picks or season leaders for a particular team. Because of that, I needed to design a framework that would allow individual modules to allow additional configuration. So to achieve this, first let's look at our requirements. So I'm using a Raspberry Pi 3 Model B+, and a 3.5-inch LCD screen, as you can see in the picture. I'm using JavaScript to pull the data, and I'm using a combination of HTML and CSS to display that to the Raspberry Pi's display. I'm also using Node.js and Electron to better package and run the software. Next slide, please. So for the product's software development lifecycle, I've switched over to the Agile model, which will allow us to adapt to any future changes or needs for customers for our product. It also helps ensure that we stay on track with all these future updates and ensures that the product is well maintained and well documented. Next slide, please. So let's look at the overall design of the project and how it's implemented. So basically there are 2 main parts. There is a main web page, and then there's the individual modules. The individual modules are responsible for pulling their own data and displaying it. And the web page is just responsible for packaging that all together. So our web page is actually split into 3 main sections for now: a upper, middle, and lower section. This will allow us to fill those sections with individual modules. Next slide, please. So just to kind of clarify what Joseph was saying earlier, initially I was using scraping to pull the sports data. Unfortunately, with the current world situation, I had to look for other sources, and I actually stumbled upon what is known as ESPN's hidden API. So their latest version 3 API requires a private API key. Essentially, this is only for like heavy payers, like larger companies. And their version 2 API no longer accepts API keys. However, we are still able to pull some data directly from ESPN. And fortunately for us, the scoreboard is one of those sources of data. So we can pull the data as a JSON file and then using that link below, and we can append the sport and the league to it, and also pass the parameter of the date, and it pulls up all the events for that date. Sorry about that. Unfortunately, there's only 3 status IDs that are available, or there's only 2 status IDs available right now, just because of everything that's going on. What this status ID is it's the current state of the game. So if it's currently in progress, it'll have like a 2, I think. If it's to be played, I think it's a 1. But right now, the only ones that we're really able to see is 6, which means postponed, and a 3, which means final score. And if we manually enter the Super Bowl's date, that is the screen that is pulled. Now I'll be showing a brief demo of the video and showing how it works between using 2 different teams. Alright, so I am using VNC Viewer to remotely show the Raspberry Pi's display. And over here we have the configuration file config.js, and the product is currently showing, or is currently configured for the Houston Astros. So how are we getting this scoreboard data? So if we go to that URL in the PowerPoint slide, there's the first half, and then we're appending baseball/MLB/scoreboard, and we're passing the parameter dates equals 2020-0420, which is today's date. So let's see where that takes us. So we're actually retrieving a JSON file. Now we can actually skip this first object because we already know it's MLB just from our URL and from earlier and from right here. So we can actually just skip over that. And what our script does is it goes into events and then it cycles through every single event. So every single event has an ID. Start with 0, go into competitions, competitors, and there is a home team and an away team. So first we must go into 0, and we're looking for the team abbreviation, BOS. So our team name is HOU, so that is not the same. So we'll actually go into 1 because the team could be away. So it wasn't 0, but it might be a 1, and it looks like it isn't. So because it isn't, we now know to go to the next one. And we can just recursively do that or we can iterate through each one until we find competitions, competitors, 0, team, and then abbreviation HOU. So hey, that matches. So how are we getting this postponed status? So ESPN uses status ID codes, and we can find that in status type ID, and we are retrieving a 6. So using our switch statement, we're processing 6. And whenever that happens, we display postponed. So now, because we'd have to do this for every single team, unless we partner with a specific team, we needed an easy way of doing this, showing a different team. So let's actually go back to this first one. And for the team name, we're going to use BOS for the Boston Red Sox. Let's change that to BOS, change this to Boston Red Sox, and for this ticker that's going on at the bottom here, I'm actually using mlb.com/news/RSS, and you can see that every single team has their own personalized RSS feed. So for the Boston Red Sox, we will use right here, Boston Red Sox, copy, paste that into here. And let's also change the background color because not every team is going to have the same colors. So here I have the team colors for the Boston Red Sox. Blue would probably be better just because their logo is red. but just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use the red color here. We're going to paste that into our main.css file. And let's save both of those and wait for FileZilla to push that remotely. And we'll actually need to restart the program. And it looks like they have been transferred successfully. So we can run our startup script again. And it'll take a sec before it loads. So if everything worked correctly, we should have a red background with the Cleveland Indians at Boston Red Sox game displayed. We should see that the status type ID is 6 and it should show postponed, which it does, and our RSS feed should now be displaying Red Sox headlines. So it looks like everything was updated properly.
All right, thank you guys. We did have a lot of fun working on this project. Especially with like COVID right now, there was a lot of challenges we didn't expect to have to deal with, but it was really fun trying to overcome all those. Now I guess I'll just open it up to any questions or comments.
Yeah, you mentioned you had a few problems that you ran into, and you had a fun experience overcoming those. Can you elaborate on those problems a little bit more?
Yeah, Chris, actually, if you want to start off.
Yeah, I can go first.
Just
So,
among the different majors, I should say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll start off. For me, the biggest problem was asynchronous programming versus synchronous programming. Primarily, we've learned synchronous programming throughout our entire tenure at the school. So trying to learn JavaScript and Node.js was kind of fun. It was kind of problematic though, just because I wasn't used to asynchronous calls using promises for DOM object. It was just a whole new field for me to learn, which was fun, but kind of frustrating as well. Also, like I said, trying to scrape data from various websites whenever there's no extremely hard to do. And there aren't very many APIs out there that are free. Most of them are very, very costly. So I was very fortunate to find out about that hidden ESPN API.
Yeah, so to talk about like from a CIS standpoint, it wasn't so much that COVID really hurt us. The most challenging thing for us was just the licensing, just figuring out all the hoops that we'd have to jump through and all the criteria we'd have to meet for the NFL, NBA, MLB. Those were probably the most challenging things for us, just because it's difficult to reach out to them. I reached out to the NBA and they said they don't release any information like that, because we're just trying to find a manufacturer who already has a license. But the NBA never, they don't release any of that information. So it would just take a little bit more work to where we'd have to communicate more with these manufacturers one-on-one. But yeah, that was probably the biggest problem for us, is just figuring out a way around these licenses and how to cooperate within copyright laws.
Yeah, I could totally agree with that, Christian. Couldn't agree with it more. And also the niche market that we're targeting, there's nothing like our product on the market for us to base anything off of. So it made it a little bit difficult to project and expect where we're going to be when there's nothing else to directly compare to, especially just along the same lines that Christian was talking about.
Yeah, to add on to that, what was really, I guess, a mountain for us was just looking at the royalties, because back when we were naive and didn't know much about this, we didn't even consider the possibility that we'd have to pay these leagues in order to use their information. which was apparent whenever we did our first presentation. We were asked multiple times if we were worried about getting sued, and we're like, what are you talking about? Isn't this free? Sadly, the answer was no. But yeah, basically on average, I guess we didn't mention each royalty for each league is around $100,000. On top of that, we have to get insurance that covers a certain amount. So that was definitely heartbreaking. But we did, I guess the meetings that Dr. Shoemaker set us with certain individuals did help us out. I did mention that we had certain websites that we're using right now to research manufacturers and suppliers that we might be able to talk to see if they have a license, which was ThomasNet and MPub, which is based in Chicago. But other than that, I think that was the biggest roadblock for us.
Blaine or Joseph, anything?
I would just say that one of the difficulties that we face on the IT side is because we were developing our own API, we kind of had to figure out from a backend services standpoint how the API would work on from an IT's perspective, kind of on the fly a bit. But I think overall it went well.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. But also, there was a gentleman we talked to based out of Chicago who actually gave us a lot of great information and referred us to an IT guy who ended up helping us out a little bit. And I would say another probably aspect was when we were trying to describe our product, we didn't have the actual prototype. So it was hard to describe and tell somebody what we were trying to do. But once we actually got past that barrier, they were very helpful for all aspects of the project.
Any other questions right now or comments?
I had a question. Why did you guys choose to use Shopify over other e-commerce platforms, especially given some of your different restrictions, like with licensing and everything? I'm just intrigued by your choice to use Shopify to sell something like this.
That was partly because of the fact that Shopify actually offers a lot of different services that aid us, such as keeping track of the different financial data that comes in per transaction. And additionally, Mr. Proudfoot from the Smith County SBDC actually recommended that we use a storefront designed by a company like Shopify. That way then we don't have to worry about any security issues or issues with designing our own storefront. We have something that is tested and proven to work and be efficient and effective at serving as an e-commerce storefront.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, you guys mentioned like you need to sell 80,000 pieces to get break even. So I'm thinking whether you guys consider to display any ads on the device to increase your income, maybe.
Right. I did mention that. Sorry, I mentioned it briefly because I was focusing on the subscription side of things. We will get smaller, not as grand revenue streams from our advertisements, but we do plan on putting banner ads as well as the video ads that I mentioned that can play, during timeouts, halftime, stuff like that. Instead of watching a commercial on TV, might just be a little 15-second video that'll play over the screen. Cool, we get our money. Cool, they can go back to getting their sports. So we have two different tiers: the pro level tier, which is the paid subscription level, and then a free advertisement tier.
Yeah, and also maybe like you can add some more customized feature to its customer. They can display their pictures while they are not using or watching any games, right? They can use
that actually, yeah,
game or something else. So that way you can attract some customer to have more functionalities, right?
I think that's the biggest advantage of our product is that there are so many different ways we can go with it. Because we had some suggestions to do. I think Josh kind of briefly spoke about it, but some trivia or something to keep them interacting with it. We talked to the Tyler SBDC, and he mentioned something like make it to where it can hold pencils or something, to where the actual housing could somehow work. I guess just be better for your desk.
Have additional functionality.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. But I think that's just the best part about Sportal is that there's so many different things that we can do.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, otherwise it's kind of difficult. I think just I'm trying to think about some way to sell, right? How to sell more pieces, like to attract more customer to your
Right.
product. Yeah.
One additional thing that we have considered for increasing our revenue streams is actually, Christian mentioned early on having interchangeable housings, and we've considered potentially that being almost like a collector's piece, where if you support multiple teams, you choose to collect multiple Sportal housings for each team, perhaps a special Father's Day or Mother's Day Sportal housing, perhaps a holiday one. If we'd love it if maybe one day it could be an Olympics themed housing for each Olympics that comes up, things along those lines to increase the revenue stream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I
Well-
had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I was wondering why you chose to be making your own API when some of the people that you might be working through, some of the different sports centers might have their own.
So I think right now, just at the scale that we're at, it just made more sense. Because right now, I think one of the cheaper ones that we could find was about $100 a month, and it kind of went up or down based off how much information we were pulling. So we figured if we kind of made our own, I guess the original idea was that hopefully we could also sell the API as well at a cheaper price, since APIs come at such a premium. If we were able to kind of make our own, that we would be able to also sell that. But Chris, and you may be able to explain this a little bit better. I think the reason we went in the direction that we did is just mainly for the prototype, because we were kind of working with limited resources, but also to kind of stand out as well.
Yeah, and also, like I said, we're using a kind of outdated version 2 model or API from ESPN. We have no idea whenever that may or may no longer be supported. So I would like to have a backup plan, maybe use a different website like Bleacher Report, or I think another one I saw was Sportsnet. I think that's
Yeah, and
really, yeah.
I was going to say that's the advantage of if we were able to reach out and partner with one of these do already have their API set up, and on top of the fact that we have connections to then their customer base, because a lot of things like Bleacher Report or The Athletic, both of those are just media outlets, and a lot of them are trying to get some physical products. They're like, if you look at Bleacher Report, they're expanding into all kinds of different like places. They have different podcasts now. They're trying to expand as much as they can, and so we feel like it'd be perfect that if we could get like a Bleacher Report sponsored Sportal, to then have them kind of alleviate some of those costs and maybe give us a little more security with our API.
Well said.
So I had a question. I know we have already talked about the advertising a little bit, but it's my understanding that this is the product's meant to be used sort of at an office where you can't really have the volume up and things like that. It's supposed to just sit on your desk for the most part. I know you also talked about like the man cave or the garage or whatever, but in the office setting, I'm just wondering how the advertising is going to work if your boss walks by and you see a video for GoDaddy.com just playing on the guy's tablet sitting on the desk,
Right. This is of course, a concern for later on down the line. We haven't exactly established what, like we said, just off the topic that we just got off of, different advertisers in those spaces are going to advertise in our space as well, and that kind of gives us the freedom of choosing maybe the different advertisements that could be playing. But again, if it's comes to that, we even talked about offering free pro level, or even for specific months, if you wanted to pay for that month and you didn't have to worry about it because you want to see all the scores for all the games going on, then you can pay for a couple of months during your season and then take it off other times. So at other times, it's mainly just going to be the banner ads that are going to be playing most of the time, using the touchscreen to give them access if they see apparel, sports apparel for their favorite team, or something along those lines that might be applicable to that customer.
Yeah, the way the display is set up, I believe there's like 9 quadrants. We got different modules basically to where the ads would never necessarily dominate the display. It would always kind of be a little bit smaller off to the side.
Right.
Okay.
Anything else from anyone?
All right. Well, thank you, Sportal. So Thursday at 3:30 p.m., we will have the final 2 presentations from Aerobicon and Keras Sensors. Please join us then. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you, guys. See you
Good job,
guys.
guys.
You guys
Thank
did
you.
great.
Good job, everybody.
Good job.
Yeah, y'all did good.